Hey everyone, it's Rachel, and today I'll be answering some of your questions. What are your favorite video games and what are your favorite video game soundtracks? So I think I've answered this in the past, and my all-time favorite video game and video game series, I guess, is the Mass Effect series. I just loved it so much, and I also really like the soundtrack from that series as well. In terms of recent video games, my favorite that I've played in the past few years is probably Hollow Knight. It's just such a great game with such cool environments, and the sound design is great as well. And I'm really excited for Silksong if it actually ever comes out. Also, while it's not the best soundtrack ever, I do have a soft spot, a nostalgic soft spot for the RuneScape soundtrack because I played a ton of RuneScape as a kid. So those songs just bring back really strong nostalgic feelings for me. What was the last concert you attended and what is your favorite concert so far? And have you met any bands? So the last concert I attended was pre-pandemic. I actually don't remember which one it was off the top of my head. Let me look back at my photos for a second and see if I can determine which one it was. Oh, it's actually just showing me pictures of myself playing guitar, so that's not quite helping here. It looks like my last concert was actually seeing Within Temptation in 2019, so yeah, it's been a long time. And as far as my favorite concert, I probably have to go with the first time I ever saw Nightwish live. It was just a mind-blowing experience because I had spent so much time listening to them for years, but never had an opportunity to see them. And I also got to meet them at that concert, at the meet and greet before the concert, and it was just really crazy getting to see them in person. Like, wow, these are actually real people, not just people I've seen on a TV screen. So yeah, that was my favorite concert experience, and also my first time meeting a band, I think. What's your favorite guitar for now, and how many do you own? So in terms of favorite guitars, it's hard to choose just one, but one second, let me grab what I've been using recently. So this guitar is probably my current most used guitar, and that's for a couple of reasons. For one, it's just a really nice guitar. It's really nice to play and it has a really cool looking finish. I also like how it's matte and it doesn't reflect light as much. But also, I've been dealing with some electromagnetic field EMF related noise issues in this apartment, and this guitar is probably the best at dealing with it. It has very little hum, whereas almost all my other guitars do have hum now because of this issue, and it's like directional, which is interesting. Kind of depends on where you're pointing it, but this guitar deals with it really well, so I've been using this one a lot. But I don't really have a long-term favorite guitar. I kind of like using different ones for different things, and they are all really fun to play. As far as how many guitars I have, I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. Quite a few. I should probably do an updated collection video because I've acquired quite a few guitars over the last year or so, but let me just see. In the room around me I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guitars, but there may be a couple more not out and about right now, so yeah, quite a lot of guitars, more than anyone really needs. What band got you into metal and what is the heaviest band you're currently listening to? So in terms of what band got me into metal, I guess it was probably kind of like a gateway thing. I think it might have been like Linkin Park, kind of got me into it a little bit. Also, I listened to Metallica a lot when I was first getting into the genre, and then I kind of discovered Nightwish and discovered a whole bunch of other things, and there's probably more I'm not thinking of. I also listened to a lot of hard rock before I got into metal, like Skillet and Papa Roach were two of my favorites back in the day as well. So kind of a whole bunch of bands led into me discovering metal. And for the heaviest band I'm currently listening to, I'm not exactly sure. I guess I've been listening to a bit of Behemoth recently, also Avatar, and there are probably more. I've been listening to Children of Bodom a little bit, and also a little bit of Spirit Box. With these heavier bands, I tend to be into just kind of a few of their songs, not necessarily all of them. I tend to listen to a little bit less heavy stuff, so not super heavy, but I'm definitely open to it, and I definitely enjoy some of it. So let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for some more heavy songs I should check out. How would you suggest to a very new player how they can learn to play songs or parts of songs they hear on the radio or internet? So I guess my first tip there would just be to look up if there is a video lesson on the song you're interested in learning, because I find, at least as a new player, that is really helpful because you can watch how the person is actually playing the song, seeing how they position their hands, and they might also give you more general useful tips that you can apply to all of your guitar playing about how to do different techniques and things like that. So I definitely recommend that as a first step. But also, of course, if you want to try learning by ear and just figuring things out by hearing it, you could just listen to the song and try to pluck things out. Or kind of in the middle, you could look at someone else's cover of a song, and then you have both the audio and the visual, so you can try to figure out what they're doing. And if you can't figure it out by ear, you can just look at what they're doing and try to copy it visually. So that would be my tip, but there are a lot of great lessons on YouTube and a lot of great teachers. What is the weirdest piece of guitar gear you own? I think that has to be probably the EBow that I featured before. Let me go get that one second. So this little device right here is called the EBO, and it creates an electromagnetic field that vibrates the guitar strings and kind of makes it sound like a violin or cello or something like that. This creates a really cool effect, and it's probably my weirdest piece of gear, but I also have a lot of interesting guitars that I featured on the channel before with like built-in effects, things like that. So yeah, I'm always excited to try out new and fun gear. What are the best and worst parts about being an internet guitar player? That is a great question. Obviously, being an internet guitar player with any sort of following is awesome because people get to see what you're doing and you get to talk with people about a common interest, and it's a lot of fun getting to connect with so many different people around the world, and seeing all of your positive feedback and encouragement is super motivating, and it is a great experience overall. It's also always incredibly cool and encouraging whenever someone leaves a comment saying that my videos have helped them in some small way get started with guitar or find their love of guitar or music or just really anything like that. It's just so motivating, and it's really just cool to get to see that, and it's definitely one of the best parts about being an internet guitar player. But of course, as you might expect, there are some downsides to being an internet guitar player or just content creator in general, I suppose. Although my comments are generally very positive, maybe like 1 in 100 is something mean or negative, and it's really hard to not let that affect you, even though it's like logically you know that that person being mean is not someone you want to listen to or take feedback from, but it is hard to just ignore them. And I think that's something that most content creators struggle with. Even if they say that they ignore it, it can get to you, and it's just something to be aware of and something that I think you have to constantly work on getting better at. And I think along with that, another tricky thing is dealing with people's expectations of you as a content creator, whether that's actual expectations or ones that you kind of make up in your own head. It can be tricky to, not worry about making content that's different or experimenting something new, because it's easy to worry that maybe people won't like what you're doing, or maybe they'll think it should be better. And it can make it scary to try things that are new, or to put out new content, or put out something that's maybe not 100% perfect. And it's something that I've always struggled with, and I have been trying to improve at and will continue to work on, but it's definitely something that I think a lot of other internet guitar players and content creators in general struggle with. But overall, it is a great experience. I love making content, and getting to share it with an audience and interact with that audience is one of the best things ever. What is the most special and marking song for you, and why? That is a hard question to answer. I don't know if I can think of one exact song. I mean, it probably has to be a Nightwish song, because they were the first band I just got really into when I was younger, and they have a fond place in my heart and always will, even if I'm not listening to them as much currently. They will always have a strong place in my musical heart. So probably a Nightwish song. My favorites are Ever Dream, Sleeping Sun, Come Cover Me, a bunch of their songs, and I think it's just because they meant a lot to me when I was first really discovering the types of music I like. I just remember when I was in high school, we had to do a presentation on a song in my English class, and everyone kind of brought in, normal songs, popular songs, classic rock songs. But I chose Bless the Child by Nightwish, and I showed the video to my class from their End of an Era concert, which was just absolutely crazy. And I don't think anyone at that point knew that I was into metal. They probably assumed I was just listening to like pop or whatever. And that was an interesting class. Queen Crimson asks, what is your favorite food? I've answered this before. It is definitely sushi or some variation of that. I also really like poke right now. I've been on a poke kick, but it's pretty much anything raw fish and sushi related. What to practice? I know basic chords, but don't know what to do next to make progress. I think my number one tip for this sort of thing is always that you should be learning songs or parts of songs that you're excited about learning. And that is the way I've always found best to make progress, and also the most fun way. So I'd encourage you to do that. Thoughts on other music genres aside from metal? So I am really open to all genres of music. I may not listen to them all, but I believe that there are good songs in every genre. And yeah, I'm open to learning more. I've been listening to some synthwave in the past, and recently also some folk music, kind of like medievally sounding stuff. I also like older pop music sometimes, things that are nostalgic for me, and also really like ABBA a lot, as I think a lot of metal fans do too, which is interesting. Like Tobias from Ghost, he really likes ABBA. And I guess that makes sense because he's Swedish, but they are really good. Yeah, so I'm really open to all genres of music, even if I primarily gravitate towards rock and metal. I think there's something to be learned from every genre of music. T asks, do you have any tips on playing with more emotion and not sounding too robotic or technical? I guess my tip there would be one probably a lot of people would say is just vibrato. Vibrato I feel like adds a lot to playing and it sounds good as well, and something that you can have that's personal to you and different from other players. So I guess I would work on that and prioritize that. But there's probably lots of different ways you could do this. Just kind of change up how you do timing, just insert your own things into pieces you're learning. I don't know, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but yeah, I think vibrato is a key one for sure. For whom the bell tolls asked Metallica or Megadeth and why? Based on your username, I can probably guess your answer, and I think that mine is probably the same. For me, it's Metallica. I just never really got into Megadeth that much, so there's not that much of a reason. I just kind of discovered Metallica early on when I was learning about metal, and I enjoyed their songs more, but to each their own. A couple of you wanted to know what I would consider to be my perfect guitar, like if someone was making a guitar for me or a signature guitar, what would I do with it? That is really hard. Well, for one thing, the color is not that hard. It would be some variation of blue. I'd also like it to have locking tuners. I'd like a fixed bridge just because I personally prefer that, so I can change tunings easier. I also generally prefer the super strat style of guitar, and I also really value ergonomics, and I really want it to have low action and be lightweight and easy to carry around and play. I'd also want 2 humbuckers, as that's just what I tend to prefer. And yeah, I haven't really sat down and thought out my exact perfect guitar, but it'd be some combination of all of those factors, and yeah, maybe someday. When you first started playing guitar, at which point did you decide to buy your next guitar? Did you buy a better Strat or did you buy a different type of electric guitar? So when I was first playing guitar, I got a Strat. Let me just go grab that. So this was my first guitar. It is a Squier Affinity Strat, and it was really good for the price. I think it was under $200, and it came with like an amp, which wasn't very good, but it was a great starter guitar. But then like 7 months later, which is not very much later, I decided that I really should have gotten something with humbuckers because I really wanted to play hard rock and metal, and I also really like the super Strat style guitar. So then I got this guitar, this Ibanez RG right here, which is a little bit of a big leap from the first guitar. It is a way more expensive guitar, way more premium guitar with premium features, and it looks awesome. But I think it was a good move for me at the time since I was luckily able to afford it. And I think it just helped me improve my playing a lot because it really motivated me to practice a ton. And yeah, I don't think there's really any limit on when you can get a nice guitar or a guitar that you really want. If you're able to, if you can afford it and you think you'd use it, then I say go for it. But yeah, this is still one of my favorite guitars, and it is an awesome instrument. If you had grown up in the 60s and 70s, which band would you have liked to see? Well, I am a big fan of classic rock, so there are definitely a lot of potential options here. But just thinking back on it, I've always really loved Heart, and I believe that they would have been kind of performing in their heyday in the 70s, so that would have been really cool to see their concerts live. I've watched some videos and they're just so energetic. Nancy Wilson was amazing, and she still is, and so maybe Heart? I don't know, that's a tricky question. Hey Rachel, do you have any future long-term dreams / goals in mind for your guitar / music and YouTube journey? You progress really fast. I imagine you could achieve anything you set for yourself. Thank you so much. That's really nice of you to say that. I am not really sure what I'm doing. Honestly, there are so many different things to do and learn, and I feel like what I want to do is constantly evolving and changing. And I don't know, I mean, I want to keep making videos. I want to keep trying to experiment with new forms of editing and content. I also have been thinking recently about starting maybe a second YouTube channel and something totally different because I just really like making content in general, and I'd like to maybe expand that beyond just guitar videos. Let me know what you think about that. But I don't know, I don't necessarily have a particular goal in mind. I guess I just want to keep enjoying what I'm doing and having fun with it and keep improving at guitar and video making in general, but I still, I guess, need to figure out what I'm doing long term. But I really appreciate the vote of confidence. What's my favorite guitar tuning? For that, I'd have to say D standard, partially because most Ghost songs are in D standard, and for the past few years I've been really into Ghost and learning their music. But I also just like how the strings feel in D standard. They're more slinky, and I like the tuning. It sounds nice and heavy, but also not too low, and just feels really good to play. So yeah, D standard. Matthew said, I just want to thank you so much for the Looper app. I use it all the time and I have been making great progress using it. That's awesome. Thank you for letting me know that. I've been using it myself for learning songs since I released it, and I'm really happy to hear that others are finding it useful as well. If you didn't see that video, I made a web app that allows you to loop parts of any YouTube video and slow them down so that you can play along with them and really get the parts down. So yeah, if you'd like to check it out, it's just www.looper.tube, but I'll also have a link in the description. And yeah, I really appreciate hearing that. Thank you, Matthew. Do you learn/practice one song at a time or multiple different songs concurrently? So that kind of depends on what I'm doing. Recently I've been learning more riffs than full songs because that's a bit better for content for YouTube, I've discovered. So I've been learning a bunch of different songs, but only parts of the songs. Like I did the 10 iconic 2000s riffs videos. And so I had to learn 10 parts of 10 different songs. And I also did like the 5 haunting Halloween riffs video. But in general, I tend to focus on one full song at a time if I'm trying to learn a full song. But if it's a really tricky song and I think it will take me forever to learn, then I would definitely learn a second one at the same time that's easier so I can make more progress and have more fun with it. So it's pretty situational, I guess. Thank you so much for all of your questions. I really appreciate them, and it's been a lot of fun answering them today. So I guess that's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching and for being a part of this community. I really appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.